Hello, folks, and welcome to the Vertigo Tea Party, and let's try Prison Architect. This game is in alpha right now, so a lot of things that you see will probably and almost certainly will change before the game is released. My understanding is that this is actually pretty early in alpha. A lot of things they've talked about are not in the game yet. There are still bugs, so note that if you see them or if I talk about them, these are things that they know about. They're not using the alpha to fix a lot of these bugs. Right now, they're trying to just implement new ideas. Please keep that in mind when we're watching this. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to create a new prison. We're going to stick with small. You can go with small, medium, or large. Turn the fog of war on. That just means that when a guard or an employee is not in an area, you can't see what's going on, which, of course, in a prison could be a bad thing. Continuous intake, we're turning that off. Basically what that does is you get new prisoners every single day forever, which could be pretty difficult, but you can actually turn that off. Let's go ahead and play. First thing we're going to do is pause the game. Take a look at our map. If you'll see up here, first of all, I paused it. We have pause, normal speed, fast, and very fast. Actually, I take that back. This seems to be normal. The first option seems to be, or not normal, but slow. Second one seems to be normal. Third one is fast, or cheetah speed, if you will. This is the small map, and as you can see, our workers are coming in on the first truck. Garbage will go here. Deliveries can go here. You can change that if you want. I honestly never bother. Now, I am going to be making this kind of on the fly. I've been playing this game quite a bit. I'm still not mastered it for a few reasons, which I will go into. But this isn't going to be a super specific, great build order, quite frankly. Except for this building. First building, which I've sort of kind of perfected, not really, or at least I like my design of it. Obviously there's probably going to be better ones. I like to do a 17 by 19 to start with, and what I'm doing here is I'm just building a actual building. We're going to go ahead and put this on normal speed so these guys can get here and start building it. And what I do here is this is going to be at least my initial housing facility. And you'll see why I'm doing this the way that I am here in just a second. Let me go ahead and also I like to build this on the side. I've forgotten how big I need to make this, but we'll just make it this big for now. And again, you'll see why that is in a minute. Now, if you are familiar with games like Theme Hospital, Dungeon Keeper, Dwarf Fortress, Evil Genius, this is very much in that same vein. So you'll kind of get the grip of what I'm doing here shortly. I'm going to go ahead and start building offices up here. Offices are for my, I guess you would call it your executive staff. Something like your warden, your accountant, things like that. These guys don't need to be in the middle of the hubbub, so it can be out of the way. And again, I'm not really doing super precise measurements on all of this. Just kind of get it out there so you guys can see how this works. Let's go ahead and speed these guys up a bit. Now, first off, most things need to be inside of a building, such as the cells themselves, obviously, need to be inside of a building. Some things can be outside, like the yard, where the prisoners will go to exercise or call family members, things of that nature. So, as they build, let's go ahead and look at the things you've got here. Building is just building. You designate what the building is after you've made it. Bulldoze, material, you can use different kind of flooring. Obviously, the prisoners like better flooring, but it's more expensive. You can build walls. The rooms, you have your various rooms. And we'll go into that as we play. A lot of objects, not going to go into all of them, but again, I will cover them as I play the game. Now, another thing we need to build while I'm thinking about it is a power room. I like to build the power room kind of out of the way, but not too much. Oops. Don't need to be a little bit bigger than that. Again, I'm not measuring specifics here. I'm just kind of making... Oh. Also, you'll notice, let me go ahead and pause it. You'll notice here that I've already ran out of money. Now, what you can do is you go to your reports and go to your grants. You have several grants from the government. You can go ahead and pick those up. Don't worry too much about what those are right now. You can see them on the left. Basically, they're quests, and they give you the money up front, but many of these grants, if not all of them, once you've done what they've asked, you'll actually get more money on top. So now we're back up to 81,000, which is pretty nice. So we're going to go ahead and close out of that. Just restart building this building, which is going to house our electrical generator and our water pump, which are pretty crucial. I don't know why it's being a butt. Let's try this again. I put the speed back on. There we go. So again, not perfect sizes. There are people who have some pretty darn interesting designs online. I do not have great designs, at least so far. So first, I need to build a door to this building here because there's no way to get in right now. I'm going to put 2 doors. And the workers will go and get the materials. When I outline something, it doesn't get built immediately. Your workers have to get the supplies, put them down, all that good stuff. So again, if you are familiar with games like Dungeon Keeper, Theme Hospital, etc., this is going to seem very similar to you. I was very excited for this game when I first heard about it. I love this type of game. I'm a huge, huge fan of Theme Hospital and Dungeon Keeper in particular. So when I saw this, it looked very interesting. It's from the guys at Introversion, who made Darwinia, a few other games. Honestly, I haven't played any of their others, but I've heard they're good. And these guys seem to really have a passion for the game. So it's a fair warning. I am going to be making note of some complaints I have with the current design. Again, though, keep in mind, this game is still in, again, my understanding, early beta. Not just beta, but early beta. Now you see the building isn't quite finished yet. It's got the, I don't know what you would call that, the lines, the beams. That's because I had forgot to put doors on them. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and keep building buildings because I have a rough idea what I need. So now we're going to need, one of the big things that we're going to need is a kitchen where the food will be cooked. It doesn't really have to be that large. So now, okay, now that we've seen, let's go ahead and slow her down just a smidge again here. So now this is going to be my main center for housing our guests, if you will. So first thing I want to do is start sectioning this off, and all this weird shape will make sense in a minute. Again, my design is probably not the best one. In fact, I think it's safe to say that it is definitely not the best one, but it's what I've come up with so far. So you build the rooms. The rooms themselves do not cost any money. A cell has to be 2x3 minimum, and it has other requirements for objects, but we'll go about that in just a second. Now, I want a space here for people to walk back and forth. So I can't put the cell here because there has to be a wall. So I'm going to start my cell here, go 2x3. And these are going to be lined up. They don't need room for people to walk through them. I actually got this right. At least remotely right. And again, I know some of this is like, you're probably going, what the hell is he talking about? But this will come into play a little bit sooner. I want to go ahead and throw down a power station and a water pump just to get those guys going. As you may imagine, water and power are very important. Now, you really only need one power generator, at least on a small map. You can add capacitors. You can add them all the way around. And the more capacitors you add, the more power you can sustain. I have not yet had to build a second power generator on a small map. So, let's go ahead and let's build the rest of the cells. Or let's plan out or sketch out the rest of the cells. So again, and this is the method I use. Some people build the walls first. I find that harder. Just find a method that's good for you. So, cell's going to need a wall. So, wall. I need a walkway here. Another wall for the cell that I'm building. And the cell. And again, I know, especially I'm not describing this great. But you will see soon enough that it will all make sense. This game really is about making your prisoners happy enough where they will not riot constantly or fight your guards, which right now, quite frankly, is quite difficult to do. It's one of the things I do hope gets fixed. Now I'm drawing the walls. but I am leaving a spot in front of each cell for a door. Go ahead and block that off. Again, we're going to leave a walkway there. Go ahead and wall these cells off. And some of this will make more sense. And of course, you can always check other videos if you actually pick the game up to find people who design their prisons much, much better than I do. Right now, one of my big issues with the current state of the game, which again is alpha, and I'm going to mention that multiple times just to make it abundantly clear, is that it seems to be the key to success so far is figuring out the nuances of the AI. Am I still paused? I don't think I am. I'm going to put it on medium speed. Finding the nuances of the AI and building around those nuances and bugs and other things. Again, in beta, so let's keep that in mind. So any criticisms I levy are with that in mind. And I said in mind twice for some reason. Because I do that. I like to say the same thing multiple times. Right now we are building what the cells need to be considered, well, a cell. Cells have to have a toilet and a bed. Now you probably want to put something else in there too, or else the prisoners will be unhappy. And I know what you're thinking. Well, it's prison. I mean, of course the prisoners are going to be unhappy. That is true to an extent, but if they get angry, they will constantly start fights. You get penalized in multiple ways for them fighting, so it's something you want to fix. So now we have... Oh, no, they're still building the power. I want to show you the power lines, but we'll get back to that in a minute. So, these are the actual cells. This is where our guests will be spending more than likely several years of their life. Now, we also need a holding cell. I don't really think you have to have a holding cell. Holding cell is kind of that temporary storage. So if you're still in the process of building your prison out and you need more room, holding cell is the way to go. I strongly suggest going ahead and building one, especially at the beginning. Building cell doesn't have to be larger. It has to be 5x5. And again, remember, we have to have a wall, so don't just build it here, because then you'll have to build a wall. Because see, this as an example, let's say I did this. Okay, here's my holding cell. Well, generally cells need to have walls to keep the prisoners in, unless you're on the honor system, which, I mean, it's a prison. Prison and honor system don't really go hand in hand. So to block that off, I'd have to put a wall here, which means, nope, nobody can get through. So let's go ahead. We go back in the rooms. We can just right-click. Get rid of that. Again, it doesn't cost anything to draw the walls out, or draw the plans, rather. So we're going to have a wall here, so the holding cell needs to be here. And as you drag it out, it shows you the dimensions that you're drawing, which I love that feature. There's been so many builder-type games that don't do that, and I really don't understand why. But let's go ahead and put that here. Now we're going to build some brick walls around it, as we did with the others. Let's put the door down here. Completely surround it. Now, notice there's also no doors. This is on purpose, and I'll show you why in a bit. Now, another thing we need to take care of. Oh, needs a building. I'm trying to do as much as I can. I'm also terrible at paying attention to a game like this and commentating, so I do apologize. All right, so now we're going to... This place needs power. All the lights. This is where you see all the electric bolts shining or flashing. That means there's no power. Now, you don't... I do like the way they did power. Power you don't have to put to every single bulb. It has to be... It spreads out, basically. So I'll show you. I'm going to run the power to there. And again, the workers have to do the power for you. Or they have to build it. It's just not automatic. Now, this is a current bug. Notice how it's going red down here. That means it can't build the power while that wall... I've got it drawn out, but it hasn't been built yet. They know about that bug. I did see a bug report on it, so they're aware of it. Oh, the power, or the water pump also needs power, so let's go ahead and do that. Now we run our water down here. Water is interesting. Water has two different types of pipes. You have large pipes and you have small pipes. And you think, well, and small pipes have the negative that they can only be so long before... Or, I'm sorry, the small pipes can only go so far before they run out of pressure. So then you ask, well, why not just always use large pipes? Because your inmates will use large pipes to try to escape. So you want to use small pipes as not necessarily as little as you can. I mean, not large pipes as little as you can, but you don't want them running right into their cell where they can dig a hole and escape. And I don't think I've had anybody dig a hole and escape. The game doesn't. It will tell you if your prisoners escape, but I have not found anywhere where it tells you how they escaped. If it does, again, I'm not familiar with it. It probably will at some point. But from reading what they want to do and listening to some of the speeches about what they want to do, it's actually quite interesting. And it's an interesting premise in general. The idea that, unlike a lot of other games of this nature, it was Office is 4x4. Other games of this nature, you are trying to make your inhabitants happy. Whoops, I messed that up. You're trying to make your inhabitants happy, but they're not actively working against you. So I find this to be an interesting twist on the typical business sim. Like when you're making roller coasters and Roller Coaster Tycoon, your guests aren't intentionally trying to escape the park. Well, depending on how you design it, maybe they are trying to escape the point, or escape your park. Point is that this brings another interesting angle, because the developers want to make it so that the prisoners are constantly trying to find new ways to escape. Now, obviously, if you keep them happier, they will probably try to escape less. However, they're still prisoners. So, no matter what, some of them are going to be trying to find ways to escape. Well, how are they going to do that? There's a few different ways. First off, I'm going to build a solitary. There's 3 different types of cells. You have cells, which are the cells that they live in. You have a holding cell, which is this, where they come for temporary transfer. And then you have solitary. Solitary is when they've been misbehaving and need to be given some alone time. So right now, solitary actually don't have any minimum requirements. So I make them one square, which might be a little bit inhumane. Maybe NATO has a problem with that. I don't know. I don't really care what they say. So as I finish these solitary closets, if you will, I go back to what I was talking about. The prisoners will do things like, for example, they will try to steal weapons from your guards or keys from your guards. They'll try to steal knives from the kitchen. They'll steal tools from your workmen. They'll try to dig out of their cells at night. They'll even pull I can't think of a good movie to describe to give an example of this, but they will even build a mannequin of themselves in their bed to make it look like they're sleeping, but they're actually building tunnels to sneak out of your prison. It's, again, a really cool idea. I'm interested to see how this goes. A lot of that either isn't implemented yet, or I just haven't seen it yet, which is, entirely possible. So you see they're still building away. You can build more workers. In fact, I think I will. Because early on, one of my key issues is a lot of other games like this, it's a gradual buildup, right? So in Theme Hospital, you have to have a general practitioner. You need 1 or 2 maybe to start with. And you need some very basic diagnosis and treatment rooms. Very easy to start off with. And then you build up on top of that as you discover more and more advanced diseases. Now this, on the other hand, at least in my experience, has been you need everything almost right away. You need the kitchen to cook food. You need the canteen to eat it. You need the cells, of course. You need a holding cell. You need solitary. You need a fence around your perimeter. You need let's see what else. You gotta have a shower, or they'll complain about being dirty. Gotta have a yard so they can call family members and keep active and not be bored. You have to have the infirmary because they will constantly be getting into fights and other things of that nature. So it's like you need everything and you need it yesterday. So that's one issue I do have. Hopefully that's something that they look into. This is the building I was going to make the kitchen, so let's go ahead and do that. And also keep in mind, I'm also playing even worse because I'm, again, trying to talk about this as I'm doing it, which in itself is a little difficult for someone like me who, even after, what, year and a half-ish of LPing, still not super great at it. So a kitchen, as you can see, needs a cooker, a fridge, and a sink. So for now, again, for demonstration purposes, let's just do one cooker, one fridge, and one sink. As you, of course, grow the prison, you will want more of that, because you won't be able to keep up with their needs, which, quite frankly, I have been having problems with. So we're going to need water out of here. Water will need to go to the sink. Some items, remember what I said before about how power is an AE type effect? For example, let's look at the power here. I'm not running, there's 6 lights here. There are 6 lights. Notice the power isn't running to every single one. It actually runs to the area and then they run to the power. So it's actually very easy to get your power situation going. Now my problem, now you notice here that the water is blinking. That's because there's no water, and that's because there's no power to the water pump. But you see I've got it set to be built. Now when I'm hovering over this, and sorry I keep trying to cover everything at once and quickly, so I keep jumping and I apologize. But you see here it says job blocked, install electrical cable, no materials. Now you're supposed to be ordering the materials. I don't know why you get that error in particular. That happens actually a few times. Sometimes you'll show it's failed 3, 4, 5 times. Sometimes if you just get rid of it and rebuild it, it will work. We'll see. Again, keep in mind, beta. Anyway, as I was saying before, the power usually has an area effect. It lights all the lights in the area. However, some things like these cookers and sinks do require a direct connection to electricity. But they're usually pretty few and far between. So running the utilities is definitely not a burdensome as I was honestly afraid it might be. So we got the kitchen up. Let's go ahead and we're going to hire a warden. Warden has to have an office. You can hire a warden without an office, but he won't do anything. And really the only thing he does is allow you to research things. Now in here, your bureaucracy menu, you can click on this. You can see all the different things that he can research. We're going to actually go ahead and we'll do finance first. I always find finance being very important because sometimes it will not let you outspend your cash flow, which could cause serious problems. So we are still, if you look at the top left here, look at our quests. Here's the most important one, prisoner intake. 8 prisoners arriving, 8 a.m. So we have 4 hours before our prisoners show up. We still need water. This power line still has not been built for whatever reason. Failed one time. It doesn't tell me why. Hopefully they actually build it because that can be a slight problem not having any water to the toilets. And by the way, I'm just showing you the beginning of this. I wanted to do kind of a quick look of this game. I also have another, I almost said another prison saved where I'm further along. But I want to give you guys a good idea of what the beginning is like. Let me go ahead and speed it up. So you have the kitchen there. Let's go ahead and build. Let's go ahead and build a. Where is it? We're going to build a. What's the word I'm looking for? Canteen. There we go. I'm going to build it right across from the kitchen. I'm going to make it pretty big. Even though I've found that when you get a lot of prisoners in one spot, it's pretty much inevitable a big fight's going to break out. And that causes an unfortunate domino effect in that, let's say they're all gathering to eat. Well, a big fight breaks out. The cooks won't bring food because any of your just general workers will not go to an area if there's fighting going on because it's too dangerous. So they don't bring food. The ones who aren't fighting don't get fed. They don't get fed, so they get angry because they're not getting fed. They get pissed, so they are more likely to get into fights. So the next time it's time to eat, now you have a new batch of people who want to get into fights. It's just an ugly domino effect. I don't know if you're just supposed to have multiple canteens or what, but it honestly is pretty darn annoying. Okay, so our water is flowing now. The water must flow. You can see here it's coming down, going through. Now some of these, for some reason, I see, install small pipe, no materials. Your materials do come via trucks, and it looks like they are coming with the materials. So we should be ready to go very shortly. Let's go ahead and hire our guards. I like to offer. Oh, see, now here's what I'm talking about. I can't hire a guard, even though I have tons of money. I can't hire a guard because it goes against our cash flow. Honestly, that is really annoying, and that is why you need accountants ASAP. You'll also notice I have no fence around my perimeter, so let's go ahead and do that. I always forget. Okay, fence. Fences luckily cost no money. They also make great neighbors. What is it? What's that saying? Good fences make great neighbors. Anyway, we'll make the fence kind of small because it's going to take our guys forever to actually create it because it's so large. If you don't do this, it becomes incredibly easy for your prisoners to escape. So you'll see we have our prisoners. Our first load of prisoners has shown up. Our guard is going to escort them. Now, and I'm actually behind because I've been talking this whole time, we are going to start putting the doors on our cells. Because again, even though it would sure be nice to go by the honor system, probably not a great idea. Believe it or not, a lot of times they actually will kind of chill out if you don't have them ready. But the minute that they're aggravated, they will split off and start beating each other up or beating your employees up or beating up sinks and TVs. What's the point of that? I don't know. But, okay, we can now build an accountant. So let's go ahead and get that accountant into her office. Oops, that's the wrong office. And again, I don't really care. I mean, the office is going to be way out of the way. It doesn't matter. So now I want three more guards. And I also am going to replace, well, first thing, one of my favorite objects is the metal detector. I'm going to have to put power directly to it. Where is it at? There it is. Go ahead and put power to it. This will actually beep if a prisoner passes by it and they have contraband. Well, they have metal contraband, like a knife, a gun. I actually found a gun on a guy. Now, I don't know if your guards are smart enough to automatically nab anyone who sets it off. I always do it manually the few times I've caught them. Again, you'll see they're already pissed off. And again, this kind of goes back to my problem with the game. Already, some of them wanting to riot. Well, he's going to escape because I couldn't get the door on in time. This is kind of the start of my complaints. They come in and immediately, I need a shower, or I need this, or I need that. So they immediately start fighting and rioting, and you have not had anywhere enough time to build everything that they need. And they need it immediately. It's not a gradual build-up, which again is my number one problem. So let's go ahead and get a yard up too. There's some major UI, or not UI, damn it, phone booths. Phone booths actually let them call family members, and it meets their family needs. Speaking of needs, let's go ahead and check that out. Since we can't really check it because we don't have a psychologist, but they have various needs: food, security, family, cleanliness, all of that. So let's go ahead and actually build some cooks. Keep in mind too, part of this problem is because I've been going in fast mode. Almost. Part of the problem is I've been going in fast mode, so I haven't had time. But even then, and even though I hired extra workers, I don't think they would have been able to build fast enough to have got everything up and running. So hopefully that's something they fix, or at least don't make them pissy the minute they walk through the door. Because I have not been able to start a game without multiple fights breaking out, which makes the problem worse because now we've got a bunch of injured and I need a nurse to fix them. But let's go back to this bureaucracy thing. I haven't really covered that. I'm sorry I'm jumping all over the place. Here's your bureaucracy. The warden unlocks, or at least starts the unlock on all of this. So this I've already done. Finance, apparently I accidentally hired 3 accountants. I need to fix that because only one matters. Then you can hire security, health. You can invest in health, legal, which currently has no point. And then those employees, like you can hire a chief of security here. And once you hire him, he can research deployment, riot guards, etc. And here you can learn to hire a foreman or a psychologist. And again, they go on to unlock other things. So several of these things are pretty necessary. Now, I really don't, this seems to be silly to me. You have to spend $500 and 6 minutes on the maintenance guy, the foreman guy. And then he has to research janitors, which is $2,000 and another, I think it's like 5 to 6 minutes. That seems a bit ridiculous for janitors. Again, though, it's still balancing and all of that good stuff. Go and throw a door on here. Probably going to finish up with this prison soon. I just wanted to show you how it starts off. One thing that they've changed recently, which I just now got into the alpha. One thing they've changed, which quite frankly is very irritating, is that jail doors, both the small and the large jail doors, will not open unless a guard opens the door. I understand the thought processes behind that, because otherwise you just put jail doors on everything and it would be very difficult for them to get anywhere. But it becomes very, very frustrating because, as you can see, all your workers get piled up. Well, why don't I just tell this guard to stay here and open this door? That is under deployment, which doesn't unlock until you have to first unlock the security guy and then unlock deployment. So that's 12 minutes and $2,000 of time. And you can't have your warden researching multiple things. So, for example, your warden can't research accounting and security at the same time. Now, the security guy can research deployment while you research health, but that individual executive member, if you will, cannot research multiple things at once. So hopefully, again, this is being clear. As I'm doing it, it seems like it's not, because I'm trying to cover so much in so little time. So this is a big problem. Generally, what I have to do is go into my reports and go to prisoners. Here you can see your high risk, normal, and low risk. Right now, I only have normal risk prisoners, and you can see that I'm closed off to low and high risks. I just close all of them until I can actually get the prison going. But you want those initial prisoners, because for every prisoner you have, you get a grant. Really quickly, let's go over the tabs. You can see how much staff you have. You can see if they're injured, what have you. You can see all the prisoners you have, and it shows you how much you actually have room to store. Jobs, you can see what your employees are currently doing. Needs, I can't see needs, but normally this will be an overall graph of what the prisoners need. Regime, you can actually, this is neat, I like this. You can actually schedule when they do what. So you can change the shower times, sleep times. You can just give them free time all the time, which they would never eat because they would never, create food. But other than that, you can just do whatever you want. I use a lot of free time. The problem with that is right now, a lot of times prisoners will sleep during free time. And then when it comes to sleep, they're wide awake. So they sit there and they complain that they're bored. So again, they do definitely need to tweak the AI a bit. Grants, you never get any more grants as far as I can tell. Again, that will probably change. Finance, you can just see your basic, incoming, outcoming. And valuation evaluates your prison. And you also get negatives for things like penalties, serious injuries. I've had one, I guess. I've had one escape, which is a $60,000 fine. This kind of goes along with getting penalized early on. Early on, it just seems like things roll downhill very, very quickly. And the beginning is very difficult to get started because you need all of this all at the start. And you don't have the time, you don't have the money to get it set up. But I figured that will almost certainly be fixed. Let's go ahead and just finish up these rooms real quick. And then we'll be done. And I'm going to actually load up a different game where I'm a bit further. Not great, but it's further. We got the canteen. This is where they will come to eat, obviously. We need a serving table. Go ahead and just make one for now. And we will build some regular tables. And just throw some chairs down. This way they've got somewhere to eat. You actually don't have to have the tables, oddly enough. I believe they will take the trays back to the cell, or they'll go to the yard and eat, which causes a problem because your kitchen staff needs to fix it. Let's go ahead and put a door here. This way the kitchen staff can quickly come in. I haven't been able to find ways to keep them fed because they constantly want to fight instead of eat, and that causes everyone to be hungry and be irritable, which makes them want to fight. So it gets into a nasty, vicious circle. This is way bigger of a shower than I really need. Can also throw in some shower heads. This is, again, way bigger than I actually needed, at least at this point. From what I have seen, it seems like they want you to split up these things. Like, they don't want you to build one giant shower. Because, as I've said, it seems like if a bunch of prisoners are in one place at a time, it's pretty much certain that there will be breakups. Now, again, I had to put water to the pipes. I also put a drain here, or else the water will just go everywhere. It'll flood the place. And you'll also notice here how it's gray as opposed to bright. This means this is the fog of war. So if somebody was over here shanking another guy, I wouldn't see it. Which is, a good thing. In a game like this, I think it's a good idea to have those. So you're encouraged to have these guards in as many places as possible. I'm not going to build a nurse station because I think we're about done with a very rough look of this. I might do a small let's play series if people are interested. Just depends. Honestly, the game I find to be in kind of a hard state to accurately play it due to the issues. Not that it's bad by any stretch, but let's see, what are we at? And it also will tell you what they're doing it right now. So let's change this. Let's just change all this to free time. Yard will be changed to free time. There's some blank spots. I don't quite understand why you would ever want blank spots. Now, one really nice thing about free time is, as you're about to see, they will go and do some things that they need. They'll go to fix some of their needs on their own. So these guys all went to the shower. That is great. I love not being able to have to, they won't go to shower on their free time. And their naked little weird bodies. It's a very interesting graphical style. I like it. It's pretty nifty. And you can actually click on the prisoners and see their biographies. Some of these are actually people who have pre-ordered. If you pre-order to a certain tier, it's kind of like Kickstarter. You can have your name and your biography put in as one of the prisoners. At any rate, so yes, the free time is really nice. The only problem I have with free time, again, is that a lot of times they'll go to sleep, which causes big problems because at night, then they get bored. You can put TVs in their room, which is pretty crazy to think about when you realize it's prison, and that will help that a little bit. But if they have other complaints like family or what have you, they can't do that because you have it set as sleep time. So very annoying. I guess what you could do is actually just remove sleep completely and put everything to free time. That might be the way around that. I'm not really crazy about that idea. One thing I would like to see as well, to avoid this issue where getting a bunch of prisoners together at once pretty much auto causes a fight. Oh, did you just set off the alarm? Hold on, we're gonna search this guy. This is a great example. Oh, yep, and he's got a knife. So, as you can see, ow, stop stabbing that guy. Now, you heard I don't know if you heard it, but the alarm actually went off. That's what ticked me off, or alerted me at least. Not ticked me off, it didn't make me angry. And I saw him running down here, so I knew it had to have been him. And I think one of the guards actually heard it too. because he was running before I even had him go down here. But if you suspect a... Oh, there's another one. Oh, there he goes. Nope, he's not searching him. All right, fine. Search this guy. What do we find? Oh. Finding anything? Oh, we found a knife. You want to pick that knife up? Yeah, please. Please get rid of the knife. Don't let him keep it. Now, if they get caught with things, they actually go on lockdown, and they'll tell you why. It says misconduct contraband, which is pretty interesting. I like that. And I also like that, and I've heard them talk about this, you can actually watch, and if they start acting mysterious or just weird, then you need to take note. For example, they showed an example where the entire cell, or all of the prisoners in the cell, were rioting or yelling and screaming, but one guy was asleep. Well, that guy shouldn't be sleeping because there's so much noise. It turns out, as I mentioned before, he was using a mannequin to make it look like he was asleep, and he was actually digging a tunnel out. So those kind of gameplay elements, I'm very, very much looking forward to once they get them working. This gives you a rough idea of what it's like in the building phase. I want to load my prison. You can see I've made quite a few. Most of them complete failures. All right, let's go ahead and just slow this down, because even this one is not great. I'm having a problem where a lot of these guys are stuck here now in the canteen. But first of all, again, keep in mind my design is not great. You'll also notice I have a huge, well, you might not be able to tell, but I have a huge area set as workshop. Workshop right now, the only thing it does is make you money. So if you just put workshop everywhere, you make decent money. And right now, it's honestly kind of needed. Here are my offices. I have a warden, an accountant, a chief, a psychologist, and a foreman. Once you get the psychologist, you can hover over a prisoner, and you can see what needs what they have. Higher pluses means they have a stronger desire for it. So he needs just about everything, but in particular, food, sleep, recreation, and he also needs to go potty. So I just ran out, or the food time just ended, and luckily a lot of them are fixed, and I have it set to go really slow if you're wondering. I have two different prison sets here. I've got all my cells here. This is the holding cell for when I get the new prisoners, which right now I've got that turned off because I don't have room. And all of here appears solitary for the ones who misbehave. And here's a second set of cells. Each of these holds 16 prisoners. Now, you might ask, why don't you just have one gigantic building with all your prisoners? This can be a problem, and I haven't had it yet, but I've seen where they've talked about that if you do this, you can run into more chances of there being a riot because you have more prisoners together in one area, and you want to split them up a little bit. It's a trade-off. Obviously, if you split them up, you need more guards to patrol those areas. You end up using up a little bit more space, a little bit more money. So you have to make that trade-off. Well, do I want to take the risk and build bigger buildings, or do I want to play it safe and create smaller subsections? So this design here I kind of like. Again, it's not great. I've seen people with better ones. Showers are here. We got way more showers than you need. Another thing you can do to get even more showers is just build islands in the middle. Like if I wanted to put walls and then shower heads right off the walls, you can do that to maximize your space. Canteen, these guys are kind of stuck here. Don't know what the deal is with those. They're kind of stuck on the tables. But I have a very hard time keeping them fed. I actually built a second canteen trying to get them split up so they would stop fighting constantly. It didn't work that well. Most of them still went here, so I'm not quite sure how to fix that right now. Here's my infirmary where basically injured guards and prisoners are brought, and the nurses will fix them, heal them. The nurses actually will also just walk around and heal your employees and prisoners that get hurt, which is really, really nice. Here's my yard. This is where prisoners come to relax. I've got a little TV there. I got a bunch of weight benches. I've got a bunch of phone booths. Phone booths, again, will let them call family members and fill that family need. Now, also, I want to show you this. This is pretty damn important. This is a deployment screen. You can section off buildings and sections of buildings. Well, I think you just do buildings to very specific sections or classifications. I guess that's what I'm looking for. For example, I have the infirmary, kitchen, and storage all set to staff only. That way, only staff can get inside. Now, right now, this is broken because prisoners will not try to get in there no matter what. And it needs to be changed such that they'll try to get in if they think they can, but if they get caught, they get in trouble. Patrols are also very important. However, I have a hard time figuring out how they work. So you click patrols, and here you can see I already have a patrol with 3 dots. This keeps this guard here by that security booth so you can monitor the CCTV monitors, which is a lot of monitors apparently, where you can put cameras up so that you can see it. So even though there's not a guard there, you can still see them via the cameras. I've also got patrols here in this cell and here so that he can let people in. Remember my issue with them not opening doors or them having to open the jail doors? This is how I fixed it. This is also nice because I have a metal detector right here. So theoretically, if a prisoner comes through, sets off the metal detector, this guard should be able to nab him and search him immediately. I also have a patrol here right by the outside. This is the door going outside of the prison, which I also have a jail door on so that if somebody starts escaping, they can't get through the door. He's there to open it to let deliveries come through, workmen, everything else that needs to come through. You can also split it up in general population, minimum sec, max sec, and staff only. And I kind of touched on this briefly before. You have minimal security, max security, and then just your general population. Minimal security is supposed to basically, they don't pose much of a risk of fighting or trying to escape. Max, obviously, completely the opposite. I've only done the general population. There's no benefit currently to taking in max sec or min sec, or there's no financial benefit, I guess, to taking those in. I guess if you want to challenge, you take the max sec. I assume later on, once they've got it fleshed out a bit more, you probably get more money from holding the max security guys. Otherwise, what's the point? So again, I've still only got the 1 power generator. It's very close. It's almost maxed out, though I need more nodes, which is fine. I have a morgue, which right now the only use it has is putting dead bodies in, but dead bodies never go away. I assume that will probably be changed at some point. That's pretty much it. You can see it's still kind of flooding here, even with the filter or the drain. The water doesn't actually drain into the drain, is my understanding. It more stops the flow, which is a bit odd. I don't know if they're going to change that, but you'll also see a lot of these prisons have, or a lot of these cells rather, have TVs. The ones that are on the outside, I just put a window, and I think windows are as good as TVs, which, maybe I have weird idea of entertainment, but being able to look outside is not quite the same as watching TV. But as you can see, this guy is hungry. Ooh, there you go. He needs food, which is pretty much the case everywhere. I'll go ahead and might as well show you this. You can now see this because I have a psychologist. So my food is in the red. A lot of people need food, and a decent amount need hygiene and sleep, which I don't know how they could need hygiene because I have tons of free time in my schedule. I don't know why they call it regime. I just call it schedule. But anyway, I have a lot of free time where they could go to shower, but instead they end up sleeping most of the time. And then, as I mentioned, staying up all night. So overall, that's I almost said a quick look. That's a 50-minute look. Not quite quick. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I'm not going to really do a review because it would be quite silly, frankly, to do a review on a game that is still in alpha and probably early alpha. So there's really no point, and it's not fair to developers. So you might be asking yourself at this point, should I buy this, or should I wait? Should I wait to see how it turns out before I plunk some money down on it? Here's my opinion. My opinion is that if you are a hardcore theme person who's into these types of games, Theme Hospital, Dungeon Keeper, Dwarf Fortress, Evil Genius, any games like that, if you're hardcore into that and you are very tolerant of bugs, very tolerant of things changing, pathfinding not working correctly, a lot of features missing, in other words, you understand what an alpha is, then I would suggest you might want to take a look at this. I think it's only $30 to get in. If you prepay $30, you actually get into the alpha and obviously get a copy of the game. Don't quote me on that. Double check their website. It should be prison. I think it's just prison-architect.com. I meant to look that up beforehand. Just Google it. That again, if you fall under that classification, go ahead and give it a try. If you're not that hardcore into this genre, and if you aren't that tolerant of bugs and the other things that I mentioned, I would say wait, but keep an eye on it. One thing I'm considering doing is maybe every alpha patch or every other alpha patch, putting another video up to see what's changed, what's improved, etc. Depends on how often they're doing patches, honestly, or how big of changes the patches feature. We'll see about that. And again, I'll also see how popular this series is. If a lot of people want it, I'm much more likely to do it in that case. But yeah, if you're really into this and if you just want to support the developers, go for it and try out the alpha. But please temper your expectations. Please don't play this and be like, oh, this game is terrible. It's so buggy, blah, blah, blah. It is alpha. It's not a PR alpha. This is an actual alpha. I really like the direction they've talked about that they want to take the game. It sounds very interesting. I've not played any of the other games by Introversion, but they seem like passionate dudes. They really seem like they want to take this in the right direction, and they seem like, more importantly, they want to do it right. So I'm not too concerned. That's why I'm not hesitant to say, if you're into this type of game and you do understand that it's an alpha, to go ahead and throw your money down. I don't think it's going to I don't think it's going to fall off the map, or I don't think they're going to release a bad game. I don't get that impression. But anyway, I am done. I can't even talk. I am done babbling on. Again, let me know what you guys think of this. Let me know if you'd actually like to see me play more of this. And if you pick it up, or if you've already picked it up, let me know what you think of the game in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.